Hello everyone, I'm Vesper the Evening Star, and I'll be your host today here on Vesper's Fanfiction Time. Today we are going to be reading Chapter 3 of I'll Be Your Hero at the Cost of Everything. And folks, by the time I post this, I think this will be on a Thursday. I may post it on Tuesday as like a double video. We'll see if my word holds true, hopefully, because I have a recording of Tunnel Vision already done, edited, and it's in drafts getting ready. Well, it's in the YouTube thing getting ready to post. So it may be a double feature, or just maybe just this one on Thursday. We'll see. We'll find out. If not this on Thursday, then it'll be chapter 4 or another chapter of Tunnel Vision. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into the story. Chapter 3. Overhaul's True Colors. Would you count this sort of situation as a dream or a nightmare? Izuku is unsure. All he knows is that he went to sleep hoping to wake up in his bed. Instead, he wakes up in an unfamiliar, cold, cell-like room. Izuku curls up against the blankets and pillows as he does his best to not tear up again. He had cried himself to sleep after trying so hard to not cry in the shower or when receiving food. He wants to cry more. But being a crybaby probably won't help his chances of survival. He at least has to try to keep his emotions stable. The maybe prison cell is empty of any personality, the blandness not helping with how jarring things are compared to his home. Former home, anyways. Even the worst guest room had a little life in it compared to this. This is just sterile. A lot of what this place in Overhaul seems to be is sterile, not unlike a hospital. Compared to his old, bright, and hero merch-filled room and the warmth there, this is unsettling. He hopes Eerie didn't have to deal with it for too long before she got her nest of pillows, blankets, and toys. All right, Eerie. He probably can't leave his room until given permission. The warning Overhaul gave about the Yakuza members trying to kill him probably rings true still. But he can still get ready for the day. Mentally, at least. Izuku reluctantly gets out of bed and immediately goes to the bathroom to splash water on his face. He's convinced himself to get up. Now, he has to stay up. After walking out of the bathroom, his eyes landed on his bag. He unceremoniously dropped by the bed. There isn't a lot in it, but he likes to have a notebook for hero fights ready and spare clothes for if bullies find him. Luckily, the spare change of clothes managed to come in handy, so he's at least not in the same dirty garments he was the other day. After, he dumps everything out to keep track of what he has on him, deciding it would be a good idea to organize what he has. In the bag are 2 notebooks, one empty, and the one Bakugo exploded that's almost full. A few pencils and pens, his phone charger, a flashlight, some yen, and a basic first aid kit. He decides he should work on transferring the information from the destroyed notebook to the new one. Not like Bakugo can show up to burn this one too, and it will likely take long enough to get the drawings remade for someone to come get him. The burnt one will be hard enough to read or write on anyways. After putting the rest of the stuff away, back in his book bag and folding his old clothes to set aside, Izuku starts rewriting old information into the new book. It's hard to see at some points, but he's mostly able to remember what he wrote at this time anyways. Taking a look again sparks a few new ideas, which is always good. Maybe he should be some kind of worried about doing this in a villain compound, and how bad it would be for the heroes there, but it's all newer heroes in this one. All their information is pretty public or just easy to guess. Heroes, especially the newer ones, see hero work as more of a show than actual crime stopping. The newest batch of hero graduates just talk far too much about things in interviews. It's kind of worrying, really. But either way, it should be fine, right? Most of Izuku's analysis on older and non-public heroes are just theories rather than anything based in fact. It's not reliable. No villain would care for it. He sighs as he finishes copying down the next page. He realizes that doing this is useless. He likely won't be able to do hero analysis again, but at least it brings some sort of comfort. Then again, he is in a new place with so many quirks he can see. Rappa might be willing to talk about his. Maybe Mr. Tape, too. Izuku already knows he can eat anything and has mutations to his mouth that allow him to eat anything, like when he ate that cupcake, and he even learned about his terrible hunger drawback. If Overhaul views quirks as bad, Drawbacks like that probably help his cause and get followers that want those gone. It sounds terrible to be hungry all the time, and with how Rappa joked about eating the car. Without much thinking, Izuku begins to write down information on Tabe's quirk, what he currently knows, and many different suggestions and thoughts in his head. Maybe he can ask them later. Oh, and if there's a training room or something, he can peek in there and jot some stuff down. All big villain bases have training areas. He half considers even asking Overhaul about his quirk before deciding against it. That's probably not the best idea. Who else? Oh, Eri. She knows as much about her quirk that he does, so they can try theories and stuff if she's up to it. That will give them something to do as he adjusts to the compound life and the Yakuza. Izuku smiles brightly, a lot more alive than when he had been moments ago. Alright, so he'll ask Tabe, Rappa, and Eri about their quirks. If he meets and gets along with anyone else, he can also ask them. Good plan to keep his morale up. So many new things to study. Izuku is happily working on an entry for Eri, drawing her little horn with questions around it, when there is a knock at his door. A loud but familiar voice calls out, "Little fighter, I'm here to collect you." Izuku closes up his book. Coming! After a moment of consideration, he decides to take the book and the pen with him. He then goes and opens the door. Good morning, Rappa. Good morning. Rappa smiles, mask hanging out of his pocket again. Hope you slept well enough. Yeah. Izuku smiles back, weirdly happy that Rappa is here. It took a bit, but I did. Did you sleep well? He asks politely. As well as always. Rappa notices the notebook. What's that? Schoolwork? Oh, no. Izuku taps nervously at his book. You remember how I like to analyze quirks? I usually have an easier time organizing my thoughts when I write them down or vocalize them, so, my analysis is in here. Ho-ho! Rappa perks up. Working your mind is important. Izuku smiles softly. Yeah, I was going to see if you and Tabe would be willing to let me analyze your quirks at some point. I don't see why not, Rappa shrugs. Tabe might be a different story depending on if he ate recently or not. Right, I'll ask him when I see him then, Izuku nods. Anyways, you said you're here to collect me? Time for food and getting you to the little unicorn for the day. Rappa waves for him to follow. No labs today, so it's a slow day for her. It will be nice to spend more time with her. Izuku follows. I think we got along pretty well yesterday. That's good. Maybe you can get her to eat and take a bath without too much fear. A bunch of grown men is scary for a kid, and it's not comfortable for us either, Rappa says. Izuku nods. That makes sense. I hope I can make things more comfortable for her in general. She seems happy that I'm going to be around more, though. Izuku brightens up as they continue to talk. She's a sweet kid. I like her. Must make the babysitting gig easier, Rappa says, leading him to a cafeteria with only a few people inside. We have a tray system like schools do, so get one for you and one for the little unicorn. I can hold the second one. Okay. Thanks, Rappa. Izuku looks for where the trays are located before finding them and beginning his new quest of getting Eri food. Despite what the media likes to say, villains are just people with jobs and can get hungry like everyone else. The food layout is pretty simple, and the trays even have sections for different things to all sit neatly as people grab what they want within reason. There's a large cooked rice bucket, cooked fish in several types, kimchi, chicken nuggets, miso soup, salad, and even a rolled-out cereal bar with milk bottles next to several pitchers of teas and coffee. Izuku isn't sure what Eri would like, so he tries to get a little bit of everything, with extras of chicken nuggets and cereal since those are safe choices for kids. Then he collects his food, which consists of just some miso soup. He doesn't have much of an appetite despite trying to keep his morale high, so for his own sake, he's having something light, and goes back to Rappa. When he heads back to Rappa, the man has a tray piled high with mostly fish and any other high-fat or calorie foods they had out. He even has a food bar of some kind that wasn't out for everyone else, and looks dense. Huh, that's a ton of food. Izuku tilts his head. I feel kind of pathetic with my single thing of soup seeing your pile, he jokes. Ha! I'm a very large man, little fighter, Rappa says, amusement clear in his voice. I need all this to keep my muscles up and healthy. Just existing takes a lot for a man of my size. The bar here is for others like me and Tabe. It's about a week's worth of calories and other things if you eat it all at once. Wow, Izuku blinks. That's so cool. I'm a very small kid, but hopefully I can get to your level soon. His fingers tap against the tray of food. You'd need more than a bowl of soup for that, but it takes time to build up, so it's fine for today, Rappa says. He breaks off a little corner of the bar and offers it to Izuku. Here, I wouldn't recommend a whole bar, but this little should help you build up calories and put some weight on you. Izuku's eyes sparkle as the man puts the piece on his tray. Thanks, Rappa. I'll try to build up some weight and muscle. I'll make you proud, he says seriously. You already do. You got a fighting spirit and protect those who can't fight. You're an honorable little fighter. Rappa nods with a big smile. Izuku's face gets red as he decides to stare down at his food instead. He really isn't sure how to react to compliments. Rappa just huffs in amusement as he takes Erie's tray, but not before he pats him on the back. Then they begin their walk through the hallways of the compound. The walk doesn't take too long, luckily, so most of the hot food stays hot. Though this time Izuku tries to pay more attention so he knows where he's going. But his mind can't help but wandering. Rappa is friendly for a Yakuza, and it just seems like he wants to fight people for the hell of it. It's hard to be sure how he feels about Erie's situation, but he seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't feel very honorable hurting a little girl that can't fight back. Though it's not like Izuku knows much about Erie's situation either. He hopes it isn't too bad, just childlike fear of being around a bunch of scary-looking adults all the time, and Overhaul not being good with kids. If that's all that is, Izuku can handle that easily. If not, hopefully he can befriend Rappa soon and have a powerful ally on his side for once to help him. Izuku perks up as he vaguely recognizes this direction from yesterday. What are your plans for the little unicorn today? Rappa asks as they walk. I'm not sure, Izuku says sheepishly. There's not much I can do without being allowed to wander or knowing where anything is. But I was considering asking Erie about her quirk at some point too. Overhaul would know most about that. He is studying it, after all, Rappa offers. He's not that bad once you get past the fear of germs. Hell of a fighter with his quirk. That's how he got me here to work with him when he took over. Want to fight. Izuku fidgets nervously. Maybe. I'd hate to bother him about it. Wait, Overhaul beat you in a fight? The boy asks in shock. Oh yeah, Rappa nods. I don't follow just anybody. They gotta prove themselves. He wasn't much for a quirkless fight, but I stood no chance against his quirk. Died for a bit, but I lived eventually. Izuku's eyes widen as he stares at Rappa. You died? He whispers in awe. Yeah, only for like a minute, Rappa shrugs. His quirk takes things apart, and he can put them back together, as it was, or better. It's pretty self-explanatory in his name. That's both terrifying and cool. It's an incredible quirk, just knowing that a Yakuza boss has it. And he now said Yakuza is his kind of boss that kidnapped him? Great. Just great. On the plus side, team casualty is down. Izuku blinks. Yay? That's a good thing, Rappa says, once again amused at his reaction to things. It's so hard to find good men these days. Really? I guess that makes sense. Even if the crime rate of Japan is going up, that doesn't mean every person who does crime is capable of doing certain things or be able to be a team player, Izuku mumbles to himself. And some crimes are just things you don't cross the line of, Rappa points out. Yakuza are about honor and doing things in a certain way. Not every criminal will follow that. Izuku nods in understanding. I forgot that some criminals have moral codes too. Is it safe to assume that while not everyone here is the same, there are a few codes that must be abided by to stay in the Yakuza? Correct. We tend to leave women and children alone for the most part. No honor in hurting them, but sometimes people forget that. Rappa grumbles at that last part. Considering they're going to a not cell with Eri, this seems a little personal. Izuku smiles softly and pats Rappa's arm. I'll get stronger for Eri, too, he says softly. If I'm going to be around her a lot, I should be able to protect her. A noble goal, little fighter. Rappa gives him a thankful look, but has to go back to his usual look when they reach the guards. They straighten up, seeing Rappa, and get the door open for them. Izuku can't help but feel better that he wasn't at all doubted. He will get stronger. He has to. He enters when the doors are opened first, and perks up upon seeing Eri. She's hiding in her nest, as usual, and pops out a little, seeing Izuku. However, seeing Rappa behind him makes her go back to hiding quickly. Izuku frowns at her reaction and thinks for a moment, quickly getting an idea. He places his tray on the dresser before he motions to the food Rappa is holding for Eri. Food is how you get animals out of hiding. So, might it work for small, scared children too? Rappa looks confused, but hands over the food anyways. Izuku takes a few steps closer and stops about halfway towards the bed. Hey, Eri, are you hungry? Eri peeks her head out again and glances at Rappa, who stays at the door and hesitantly nods at Izuku. You can eat while stuffed in your nest, Izuku says softly. You don't have to leave the safety of your bed, but I don't want you to make a mess or dirty yourself. Eri looks at Rappa again, and he raises his free hand in surrender. I can leave, little unicorn, Rappa says. Be outside. It's your call, Izuku reassures her. He can stay or leave. No one will be upset with either choice. Eri looks confused and a little stressed at having a choice, but she eventually nods shyly and looks at the door. Rappa nods back and leaves the room slowly and calmly, to not scare her more with any sudden movements. Eri relaxes once the door clicks closed, but doesn't lock this time. Izuku fully approaches Eri with a tray in hand and offers it to her. Here you go, your food, he smiles. I told you I'd be back. You did. Eri takes the tray and wiggles out of the nest. You don't act like the others here. I'm not really one of them, Izuku shrugs. I'm an outsider that was just thrown in here and now helps take care of you. Outsider? Eri tilts her head and picks up some food to munch. Yeah, most of the people here are criminals, but I'm not, Izuku says sheepishly. I'm just sort of here. Oh, Mama sent me, Eri says sadly. Made Daddy disappear. You, Izuku frowns. You made your dad disappear? My curse, Eri says, reaching up to touch her horn. Izuku hesitates before slowly moving to sit down next to Eri. It's not a curse, he says softly. But I lost Daddy. Eri tears up. Mama got mad and didn't want me anymore. That's not your fault. Izuku's hand gently rests on her head to try and keep her attention on him. Quirk accidents happen to a lot of young kids. It's because you can't control it yet, but that doesn't mean you can't learn to. Overhaul calls them curses. Mine made them go away. Eri leans into his touch and curls into his side best she can with the tray in the way. Izuku frowns at those concerning words. He will question all that later. For now, he has a child to comfort. Well, I think quirks are amazing, Izuku says softly. Even the most dangerous of quirks are beautiful and can be used to help others. They're not always bad. I'm not bad? Eri peeks up at him through her hair. No. Izuku pulls her a bit closer. You're a sweet little girl who's still learning and growing. You're not bad. Okay. Eri sniffs and hugs him. Izuku holds Eri silently for a few more minutes. Eri, can I ask you what you meant when you said mine made them go away? My quirk makes things go small until they go away, Eri says. Daddy went as small as a baby before I couldn't see from the light. As small as a baby? A shrinking quirk? No, that wouldn't make them disappear in the end, and it would wear off eventually. A time quirk? He'll probably need more research and information to really know, but he can help her at least not fear it. Oh! Izuku perks up. I have an idea. What if we work on learning how to control your quirk together? Control? Eri asks. Yeah! Powerful quirks like yours can be unpredictable, but with enough training, you can harness your power and use it without as many risks, Izuku says happily. Of course, that's a long process. I'd have to get more information on your quirk and then test a few different methods. If he gets an opportunity, he could try asking Overhaul. Seems risky, though. Izuku isn't able to consider that for a second longer, though. Test? Eri squeaks, looking up at him with pure fear. Izuku's eyes widen at her immediate reaction. No, nothing bad. Just seeing what affects your quirk and what doesn't. Not anything bad or... He pauses, calming himself down as he remembers the bandages on her arms. Panicking won't help Eri calm down. It's nothing dangerous. Nothing scary. Nothing that will hurt you, he says as gently as he can muster. No pain? Eri asks in a heartbreakingly quiet voice. No pain, Izuku says softly. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I don't? Eri asks quietly. Not when you're with me. Okay, Eri says softly, relaxing back against him. Overhaul has mean tests. I don't like mean tests. Can I ask what kind of mean test? Izuku asks softly. He wants to get a better idea of what's happening, because the signs are not pointing to anything good. Eri holds her arm, her hand over the bandages. He says he has to take me apart to find what makes my quirk work. Izuku can't smother the look of distraught on his face when he finally sees the bigger picture. The small pieces of information he was told about Overhaul's quirk, what Overhaul himself said about quirk-destroying bullets, the bandages, even Rappa's frustration, all of it makes sense now. He feels foolish for not putting the pieces together sooner. He also can't help but feel completely and utterly useless, as he just holds Eri closer to him. Eri makes a confused sound, but hugs back anyway. Right. I've distracted you enough. Go and eat your food, Eri. Izuku forces a smile on his face as he mentally goes through his options. Okay. Eri munches on some little foods first to try them. What about yours? Right. Izuku doesn't have any sort of appetite now, but he forces himself to stand up and get his tray back before going back to Eri's side. He doesn't want to teach Eri bad habits. The girl finds some apple slices on her tray by the cereal and makes a happy sound when she munches on one. Her eyes sparkle, and she does a happy wiggle. Izuku sighs softly, watching Eri happily eat. It's going to be okay. He'll know what he can do to help her. He'll do what he can to help her. Eri is in a terrifying situation, but it's not all horrible. Even if he is just a quirkless Deku, he'll try. Izuku doesn't tend to talk about his hero notebooks. He was always laughed at, called weird and creepy from those books, and as much as he didn't want to believe it, he knew it was odd. Writing so much on quirks and heroes even made him feel a bit odd or even stalkerish at times. He tends to avoid talking about his books, let alone what's contained in them. Ironically enough, the very thing that Izuku thought was weird seemed to intrigue Overhaul when he heard about it. Rappa goes on about how the kid is smart as hell and could probably take apart how a quirk works pretty fast, judging from what he caught in the mumblings he heard. What leader of a villain, or in this case, Yakuza organization, wouldn't be at least a little interested to know the ins and outs of quirks so easily, and with how young Izuku is, would be impressive if true. Oddly enough, Overhaul is inclined to believe it. The kid knew his stuff when talking to him. The only thing seemingly holding him back is a lack of confidence. What a lucky catch. Kid's gonna be one hell of an analyst when he gets older, Rappa says. Kinda want to find who broke his belief in his skills, though, flinching whenever he realized he was talking. Sad to see. A lucky catch, indeed. And Izuku, after just learning what he did about what Overhaul is doing to Eri, is ignorant to the fact that the very villain is steadily approaching, thanks to Rappa's praise. Eri finishes her food relatively quickly, and Izuku managed to finish as much as he could without her noticing he didn't eat much. Not long after, Izuku decides it's time to start brushing Eri's hair, getting out the knots that have been there for seemingly too long. Izuku is doing his very best to gently get rid of any knots and apologizes each time he tugs a little too hard. She has so much hair. It's beautiful, but really not well taken care of. At least it's pretty straight. If it was curly like his, the brush might have been broken by now. Curly hair has no love for brushes. We'll try to do this daily so it isn't as bad. Okay? Izuku says. Unfortunately, this level of tangles isn't just bedhead. It's so smooth, Yuri says, wonder in her voice as she feels the brushed parts. Yeah, Izuku smiles. With your hair combed, we can put you in all sorts of hairstyles if you want. Style? Yuri can't tilt her head much, but the feeling is there. It can be more than just down. It can be any way you want, Izuku exclaims. We can't do much with my hair, it's too short. But your hair is so long we could potentially style it. Izuku puts the brush down for a moment and gathers all of Yuri's hair in his hands to lift it up. There's even a hero who has his hair up like this all the time by choice. The possibilities are endless. Ooh! Yuri looks interested, but the sound of the door clicking has her startled and scrambling back into the nest. Praying it's not Overhaul, Izuku scoots a little closer to the nest in an attempt to hide Yuri, while not fully keeping her out of view. He doubts it would be a good idea to actually hide her, but he can at least try to make her feel safer. Unfortunately for him, it is Overhaul, and he looks interested in something. Only it's not Yuri he's looking at. He's looking at Izuku. Overhaul's piercing gold eyes cause a shiver to run down the kid's back. After knowing what he's doing to Yuri, he's more on edge than before. He tries to hide that. Good morning, Overhaul-sama. Just don't upset him, and things should be fine. Right? Good morning, Midoriya, Overhaul greets back. Rappa mentioned something interesting about you earlier, and I wanted to see it for myself. Izuku blinks in confusion. Mentioned something interesting, he repeats under his breath, trying to understand what Overhaul is implying. He hasn't really told Rappa anything about himself, though, except for his hero books, but... Oh. His eyes widen slightly at the realization. Oh, God. You realize what it was. Good. That makes things easier. Overhaul nods as he walks closer. From what he says, you are quite the intelligent little analyst. May I see your work? Izuku's hands tremble as he grabs where he placed his book on the bed when bringing Yuri her food. I wouldn't really say that. He still offers the book to him anyways, knowing that he only has the illusion of choice. He regrets putting so much detail in those writings now, but it's still just basic analysis from a quirkless kid. He doubts it will be anything useful. Overhaul takes the book with the handkerchief and flips through it, eyes going wide as he reads over the heroes inside. The more interested he looks at each page flip, the more worrying it gets. Eventually, Overhaul closes the book and looks at Izuku to study him. This is impressive work, Midoriya, Overhaul says. Do you have the others with you? I know this one says 14 on it. Izuku fidgets nervously. I only had the one I was currently working on with me, and an empty one in case I came across a fight, and I've been writing them since I was young, and they aren't that good, so... His cheeks are a bit hot from the compliment, not used to being praised in general, but especially in regards to his analysis. You seem to be mistaken about your skills, Midoriya, Overhaul says. I don't give out false compliments. It's a waste of time to do so. Izuku's face burns red, not being able to understand what's so special about his analysis, but realizing arguing is useless. Thank you, Overhaul-sama. He's the same amount worried and flattered. A word of warning, though. People here are suspicious of outsiders, so they might not react well to questions that are personal at first. Rappa will keep you safe. Do not worry about that, but until you are marked as one of us, they may avoid answering, Overhaul says, giving the notebook back and taking a picture of one of the pages. Izuku nods sheepishly. I was only planning on asking Rappa and maybe Tabe. Most people don't tend to take my questions well. It's not the questions they have the issue with. It's the person, Overhaul explains. You are not Yakuza. You are technically just a prisoner right now until you prove yourself to us. The analyst skills you have will do that. The first test, Eri whimpers quietly behind Izuku, is this page of yours. Overhaul waves his phone and the picture. Oh. Izuku finds himself worried as to what he's going to do with the information Overhaul now has and what proving himself means. He tilts his head. That specific one? A troublesome hero, Overhaul says. Been getting in our way and attacking our men far too many times. Izuku's blood runs cold. He tries to still his shaking hands. I can't promise any of this will be helpful. It's all just theories and speculation. We shall see, Overhaul says, voice amused, making Eri whimper again. How it helps us will determine how soon you become one of us, and get more freedom among my men. Izuku holds his book a bit tighter, extremely conflicted at this outcome. He reluctantly nods. We'll see then. Overhaul chuckles and reaches out to ruffle Izuku's hair with a gloved hand. I will be going now. New test to try now, and I'm excited for the outcome. Izuku blinks in surprise. That's odd. The only way he can describe this whole situation is odd. Good luck? Izuku hates the strange feeling mixed in with the fear from the hair ruffle. With your notes, we won't need luck, Overhaul says, his voice sounding so sure they will win because of Izuku. The boy looks away and to the notes in embarrassment, the feeling getting stronger as he fidgets. Is he really that confident in those notes? Izuku sure isn't, and he's not looking forward to disappointing him. Overhaul just chuckles and ruffles his hair again before heading to the door. I'll be busy for the next few days with this. Rappa is in charge of you until I come back with results. At least it's Rappa. Izuku doesn't feel nearly as terrified of him. Okay, we'll be good, he mumbles. See you soon, my little analyst, Overhaul calls behind him as he leaves out the door. Izuku stares in awe. Even as Overhaul leaves, he stares where the man once was. He breaks out of his shock and panicking emotions by remembering Eri. He forces himself not to think about the warm feeling and focuses on the girl. He heard her reactions to Overhaul before. Are you all right? Izuku asks softly. He's interested in you. Eri peeks out, either blatantly ignoring his question, not even realizing he asked one at all. She looks more frightened than anyone Izuku's ever seen. He likes to take apart things that interest him, Eri whispers. Izuku shudders at the thought. It's okay, Eri, he says softly. I will be okay. Don't worry. Eri whines and leaves the nest to hug Izuku. He hugs back, focusing on regulating his breathing so as not to panic and worry Eri more. The girl sniffles and nuzzles into him. I don't want you to get taken apart. Izuku is silent, just holding Eri close, knowing he can't promise her anything. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He can't, in good conscience, guarantee their safety. It will be okay, he says again. At least we'll be together, right? So it will be fine. Okay. Eri just cuddles close to him. Afraid of the day Overhaul takes him apart too. It hasn't been very long since Sugukachi got the new case for another quirkless kid, Izuku Midoriya. So far, they haven't gotten much information, but that's to be expected. Criminals usually lie low after a big crime like this. They'll keep their eyes out anyways. Most people are worried about a recent hero attack that killed them. Death Arms was found on his patrol route, and it looks like the attacker knew exactly how to take him down quietly. No witnesses, no cameras, and minimal damage to the surrounding area, despite Death Arms being known for a decent amount in any fight. It's worrying. After reading the first notebook thoroughly, the detective called to request the rest of the notebooks to be brought to the station for safekeeping. Too much detail and potentially sensitive information. Now, with the Death Arms attack, the timing is almost too perfect. It doesn't help the worry when his phone starts to ring with Bakugo Mitsuki's phone number. It's not Mitsuki's Bakugo's voice that comes from the other line. Izuku's notes were used to kill Death Arms, comes the younger Bakugo's voice in a stressed rush. I know that page in the book he had him with number 14. I read it the day of the sludge villain attack. Sugukachi pauses before mentally shaking off his confusion. 14. That's the only one that's not in the pile. He goes to double check. Yeah, he would have had to rewrite it, Bakugo huffs out. You read the nerd's diary. I know I was an ass and burnt it. Yeah, Takashi doesn't give that much thought. It's not his job to judge. The kid is obviously upset and wants to help. And that's enough. If we're right, then that means Midoriya is likely complying for one reason or another. Or they searched his bag for the phone we couldn't reach and took it, Bakugo grumbles. Anyway, I don't remember all the heroes in 14, but I know he had started one for Mount Lady at least. Any others can be guessed by his internet history and who isn't in the other ones. Tsukauchi doesn't tell him it's better to think he's complying. At the very least, it means he's alive. Thank you for telling me, Bakugo. We'll have potentially targeted heroes on high alert. Hopefully we'll catch the attackers and get some more information on your friend, Tsukauchi says. I hope so. Bakugo sighs roughly. It would tear the nerd apart to know his notes got heroes killed. Remember what I said before, Tsukauchi sighs. Heroes in danger will make people listen. I hope so. Just don't mention it was a quirkless kid that wrote it. People stop caring or taking it seriously when that comes up, Bakugo says, voice resigned, like it's happened before. Of course not. I've been doing this for a while, kid. I'm pretty good at dancing around quirks when it won't bring in favorable results. The detective begins typing out an email as he talks. Those notebooks need to be read thoroughly. Plus, they have to warn those heroes in them as well, which will be a lot. Okay. Bakugo sighs. That's all I wanted to call about and give a warning for. Your help is appreciated, Tsukauchi says. We'll do what we can to find the boy. Just sit tight and keep an eye out. Right. Bakugo hesitates to hang up. Thanks for actually caring. Bye. The phone clicks and the line drops as Bakugo hangs up. Tsukauchi sighs as he places the phone down on his desk. He tries to stay disconnected from most cases he takes up. It's easier to work that way, but he still finds his thoughts wandering about to how the child must feel. He stops slouching and gets back to typing. There's no time to waste if they want that boy back alive. He doesn't get far before there's a knock at his door, and it opens to the only person that never waits to be invited in. Eraserhead, Tsukauchi sighs. Oh well, he needed to talk to the man anyway. Tsukauchi? Eraser nods and takes a seat on the other side of the desk. What is this meeting about? You sounded worried about it. Have you heard about Death Arms yet? Tsukauchi asks, jumping right to what's most important. Yeah, Eraser nods. Was surprising how efficiently it happened. The newest case I have is likely related to it. The detective pulls out a file and takes out a paper, handing it to Eraserhead. Read this. Eraser does and raises a brow. You had a quirk analyst look at me? Tsukauchi huffs out a laugh, but there's no humor in it. No. This is the work of a missing kid. 14-year-old Izuku Midoriya. A kid wrote this? Eraser squints at the paper. How did he learn all this? I have no idea. The detective sighs. His other 13 notebooks don't say much on where he got his information. Is this why he went missing? Someone found out and killed Death Arms with it? Eraser studies his page and looks paler than normal, seeing his weaknesses written out so plainly. Seems like it, Tsukauchi sighs. Got a call from a friend of the kid who is sure his death is related to the kid. The HSCP isn't going to like it if more heroes die from this, Eraser huffs. The good thing is that once the books are looked through, we'll know who he's already researched and could potentially be targeted, the detective says. If other heroes heed the warning, we could find the kid easier and stop the deaths. What's going to happen when we do? Eraser asks. He has a hero's blood on his case now. Forced or not, that's going to make his record look bad to employers or schools. I doubt that would change much for him, honestly. Tsukauchi huffs as he looks down at Izuku's file. The kid's quirkless. To them, his record has been ruined since birth. He's quirkless? Eraser tilts his head. How was it reported to you? We both know those reports never make it past intake. Luck. When I came back from my lunch break, 2 angry blondes were yelling at one of my coworkers and explained the situation. It wouldn't have gotten to me otherwise. Who took him? Razorhead flips to a different hero's page. Not entirely sure yet. No one saw the villain's face. Tsukauchi explains. All we know is that the one who took the kid seems to have a bird or plague doctor theme from the mask that was described. Bird or plague... Eraser slowly looks up at him. You mean the Yakuza? Tsukauchi stares at him. Well, that's not what I meant. Is that really a Yakuza theme? When he thinks of Yakuza, the first thing that comes to mind is not birds or plague mask. Yeah, hold on. Eraser gets his phone out and logs into the hero database that police need a warrant to even sniff at. Here, if anyone asks, I didn't show you this. Razorhead says, showing him the page on the Yakuza and their apparent leader, Overhaul. Tsukauchi tries to read through everything as quickly as possible. Holy shit. The kid was kidnapped by the Yakuza. Yeah, and now they have a quirk analysis on top of Trigger. Eraserhead sighs tiredly. Tsukauchi hands Eraser his phone back and takes a deep breath. I can't legally use that information, but it will help with what to look out for. I can use it, Eraserhead says. I'll have to talk to Night Eye about this, as it's his case. That's all you, Tsukauchi grimaces, remembering Night Eye's everything. Good luck with that. Thanks. Eraser grumbles, ducking into his scarf. Email me what you have, and I'll work on getting a joint case with Night Eye. Not sure how willing he'll be about it. He better get more willing, Tsukauchi huffs. A hero is already dead, and there will be more if this isn't stopped soon. He's also possessive as hell, Eraser huffs. Unless Ome himself somehow knows the kid, it'll be hard to get him to share. The kid and his family friend were saved by All Might a few days before his kidnapping, but that's all they got. Of course, it's Night Eye that would be handling a case that connects to his own. Maybe. We'll have to ask All Might if he remembers them. Being seen with the number 1 hero could be what got their attention to begin with, Eraser says, thinking. After looking over the news footage, the kid's family friend also mentioned he was quirkless on live television. He could have been seen as an easy target, Tsukauchi points out. Damn. Eraser sighs, rubbing his eyes. That's going to make things harder. What the hell made them think that was okay to say? Outing a quirk status is a terrible thing to do. This got harder the moment you mentioned the Yakuza, the detective deadpans. Eraserhead grimaces. Trafficking isn't off the table for them, and a quirkless kid goes for a lot, he says. There are some real freaks out there. They might decide he has more use as an analysis for them instead, Tsukauchi suggests. It will be both harder and easier if that's the case. At least if he complies, he won't likely be hurt as much. True. Let's hope Night Eye can help, and maybe showing All Might a photo of the kid will jog his memory enough to help with Night Eye. Eraserhead sighs. He's going to be at UA next year, so I have his phone number and email. It's just a waiting game then, Tsukauchi nods. I'll send over what I know and have the officers keep a lookout, plus warning certain heroes that could be targeted. Thanks. I'll talk to the staff at UA to keep an eye out too. Eraserhead gets up with a groan and stretches. This might get Nez's attention if more heroes die or get hurt from this. He loves a wise mind, and saving him would bring him to UA eventually. Of course he would, Tsukauchi sighs in exhaustion. Good luck. The detective waits till the hero leaves and his door is fully closed for him to sigh. Time to write more emails. And that is everything for Chapter 3, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I did move into a different room, kind of halfway through filming. So hopefully there's less of a echo, and maybe there's not one at all. That would be even better. But yeah, most of these chapters are going to be really long because the authors, they love to add lots of words, which is amazing, and I'm not complaining. I love it. But the like the posting for these will be really long, unless you think I should start doing part 1 and part 2. If you want me to do that, I can do that, and that would kind of be more easier, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that we are getting through it, okay? And you all can be expecting a Q&A YouTube video soon. Just finishing that up and getting it together. And folks, as always, have a good morning, good night, good afternoon, good evening. Have a good everything, and I will see y'all next time. Bye. Mwah.